Okay, so let's move on to item number 3. And that is application 181103. This is near APN 026031144. This item also was continued from the December 7th meeting. It's a request to install a new wireless Microsoft communications facility known as Node 98, located on a new power pole, comprising one 4-foot tall by 14.6 inch diameter antenna, two 27 by 12 inch remote radio units, one 7 inch by 10 inch diplex or shroud, a PG&E smart meter, and associated minor equipment. The existing utility pole measures approximately 43.58 feet above ground, and a new pole that will replace it will measure approximately 54 feet 16 inches above ground, so going up about 10 and a half feet. The maximum height of the proposed new utility pole with the antenna affixed on the top would measure approximately 58.16 feet, actually, so they're actually going up about 15 feet. And this requires a commercial development permit and a determination that the project is exempt from further environmental review under the California Environmental Quality Act. The owner, once again, County of Santa Cruz. The applicant, Ken Hart, representing Swift Consulting, Supervisor District 1, Project Planner Jonathan DeSalvo, who asked for a staff report.
Jonathan DeSalvo, Planning Department staff. This is a proposal to install a microcell on a new replacement power pole comprising one 4-foot tall by 14.6 inch diameter antenna with related pole-mounted equipment. The maximum height of the proposed new utility pole with the antenna affixed to the top will measure approximately 58.16 feet above ground. The pole is located in the C2 zone district in the county right-of-way. On the north pole is approximately 200 feet from the Green Acres Elementary School property line. The closest building on the school property is approximately 260 feet from the project site and is a maintenance building for school buses. The closest school building is approximately 460 feet from the project site and is a one-story building. The project site is located approximately 47.8 feet from the nearest structure, which is residential. The RF report prepared by Hammett and Edison Consulting Engineers, dated April 23, 2018, indicates the project would result in an exposure limit of approximately 0.23% of the applicable public exposure limit at ground level and 0.35% at the second floor elevation of any nearby building. Consequently, sufficient evidence has been submitted to indicate that the current proposal will be in compliance with FCC regulations with respect to RF exposure levels. Specific to this site, since the December 7th hearing, the department has received several letters requesting that the item be continued due to the height at which the hearing posters were posted at the site. Staff recommends the following edit to the staff report on page 1, table 1. The adjacent address for application 181099 should read 2698 Madison Lane, not 2688 Madison Lane. As proposed and conditioned, the project is consistent with all applicable codes and policies of the zoning ordinance and general plan. Staff therefore recommends approval of commercial development permit 181103 and acceptance of a notice of exemption for further environmental review under the California Environmental Quality Act. This concludes my presentation for this application. Staff is available for any questions.
Okay, once again, this is a standalone facility.
That's correct.
Okay, and what is the zoning for this site?
C2.
And what is the maximum height that's allowed for this facility in the C2 zone?
The maximum height is 60 feet.
Okay, and they would go up to 58.
Correct, 58.16 feet.
Okay. And the shot clock is the same as for the other two?
That's correct.
And there were communications on this one as well? A similar.
That's correct. Any communications addressed to the zoning administrator was forwarded to you.
Okay.
I'll include it in the staff report.
And the noticing issue was the same on this one as what the other two?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and open it up for public testimony. If the applicant or applicant's representative would like to address this matter, please come forward, state your name again for the record, and we'll give you 3 minutes. Good morning again.
Good morning. Again, my name is Jeremy Stroop with Vinculum Services, today representing Verizon Wireless. The objective, again, today is to request the approval of a Level 5 development permit. Purpose of the project is to attach Verizon telephone equipment to telephone poles in order to increase the network capacity. Our design consists of one antenna with telephone equipment mounted vertically to a telephone pole. But this design actually, because we're going to be doing a replacement pole here, will not need a 7-foot bayonet attachment. We will actually be attaching the antenna on a bracket directly to the top of the wooden utility pole replaced. The antenna, as proposed, will be painted to match the color of the pole. The pole-mounted radio equipment doesn't change. It is, again, 2 radios, 1 fiber optic box, 1 power disconnect switch, and 1 PG&E smart meter. That design, again, meets the WCF 006 interpretation of a small cell. The pole-mounted equipment will also be painted to match the color of the pole. As stated before, PG&E performs a structural analysis known as O calculation report to verify the structural integrity of the pole when our equipment is attached, and will be provided at time of building application. Included in the staff report are copies of the third-party radio frequency report, which confirms each node complies with the federal standards for limiting public exposure to radio frequency energy. Bill Hemmett, again, from Hemmett Edison, the firm that produced these reports, is available for any comments or questions from the administrator or the public today. In closing, the most appropriate place for telephone equipment is on telephone poles. Staff recommends the approval of application 18-1103, node 98. We also concur with staff's recommendation and request the zoning administrator approve these applications, allowing Verizon to increase the capacity of their network. Thank you.
Okay, did you look at alternative locations for this one?
Yes, we did. We found 3
What did you
alternatives.
include?
The 3 alternative poles, first one we found was a corner pole, and it was currently too crowded with existing equipment. The second one we found, again, with primary risers, which PG&E does not allow us to attach to. And the third one was actually in what we felt was in a driveway of a commercial location, and we were concerned that trucks may hit it moving in and out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So let's go ahead and open it up for additional public testimony. Please state your name again for the record. 3 minutes.
Thank you, Satya Ryan. I would also like to again say I don't believe a proper noticing was done. The second sign was not lowered until 7 days before this hearing. Not that that would have only just prolonged, but still, it's in the rules. That's what's meant to be done. And I would encourage you in the future that people be notified. Actually, if you're making changes at the time of application is when people should be notified. I'm very EMF sensitive, and I'm feeling extremely a lot of distress right now, so I'm going to leave right after my testimony. I brought my EMF meter with me just as an interest to show you the levels in this room, which are very high in the red zone. I became EMF sensitive when living in close proximity to cell towers up in Marin County. I used to love technology, I still do. I had no idea that this stuff was going to affect me. There were 2 smart meters under my bedroom. And since then, I became EMF sensitive. And there's many places I can't go anymore. It's a lot of stress on me to come here. You have a couple of towers on the roof, and there's a big one over there. So it's very difficult, although it may not be over there, maybe over there. Anyway, it's very close. It's very difficult for people, and these people who live right next to these towers are going to end up, I'm sorry to say, just like me, who never expected this, who loved Wi-Fi, who loved all of this. So completely unexpected. So I have extreme concern. These people did not get notified in time. I don't even think 10 days is enough for people, but they didn't even get 10 days. You said from the first hearing, but those people didn't, no one knew at the first hearing. All those people at that first hearing, that forum full of people, is because we told them at EMF Aware. We told people, we made it a point to notify people. We actually put up signs at this location because we knew no one could read the ones that were up there. We made our own signs. But we don't want to have to do that for every tower. So I hope that your advice is heeded by Verizon and the others, that they, this is part of the process and bigger process. I agree with what was said before. All of you are liable. For if you have any doubt that this is harmful, I know you can't use that as a reason, but it will make you consider more closely the other reasons which you can consider. And all of us, our health, the children have been mentioned. There's a lot of schools really close. The people who already spoke had to leave. The little girl. There's a school right there. I mean, this has to care. You have to care about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name again for the record, and we'll give you 3 minutes. Good morning again.
Hello again. My name is Tom Davis. I'm a resident of Live Oak. I'd just like to finish my more general protest to this. We, the people of Santa Cruz County, citizens of the United States of America, do not consent to the installation of microcell radio frequency or microwave transmitters in our neighborhood. It is the job and sworn duty of our government employees and officials to act in our best interest and to protect us from harm. If you fail in this duty, it falls on us to take decisive action. If these installations are approved and installed, we the people will see to it that they are decommissioned. This is a matter of self-defense, which is our inalienable right. If these installations are approved and installed, we the people will see to it that every government employee and official that gave consent or aided and abetted these installations is held personally liable. We will see to it that every worker that carries out these installations, every company that performs the work, and every telecom official that is responsible for these transgressions of harm to our neighborhoods and community is held personally liable. Your position in government does not shield you. The corporate veil does not shield you. You can and will be held to account as an individual that invaded our neighborhoods with harmful technology against our consent. I'm begging you guys, you're part of our community. It is time to take a stand to do the thing that is right, to act in a cautious and conscious way. So please, deny these efforts.
Please state your name again for the record, and we'll do 3 minutes.
Drake Mitchell speaking again. In this particular application, there's the issue of proximity to a school zone. What I can tell you from previous research in the electromagnetic spectrum performance of antennas in variable terrain, even the DoD has been funding research on issues such as radio reception for optimal warfare applications. It is non-trivial as an electrical engineer, as a radiation physicist, as an environmental biologist, to understand the complex systems involved environmentally, much less to then have impact on the school zone estimates, if you'll forgive my word. Certainly, there could be prioritized funding for special environmental zones that deserve a closer look at critical threshold levels for all these issues. And to reiterate, Stanford has had a standing challenge in the Ivy League for solutions for global climate warming involving carbon dioxide sequestration. There are opportunities to do such with actually quite tractable farming technology, which I plan on demonstrating and as soon as possible opportunity explaining in a special session at Stanford. Again, under the auspices of former Department of Energy Secretary Chu, who is very passionate about these issues, as well as many of his colleagues in the international and national scientific community. I have almost a minute left. School zones have benefit from special protections at many levels of federal, state, and local government. From the point of view of the medical profession and first do no harm, we prioritize special, cherished, precious assets, or, I mean, that sounds so crude and technical and mercenary. People, different groups of people are specially helped by examining their particular vulnerabilities, and the strength of a community will often be in how we treat our less fortunate brothers and sisters. So I suspect that there's plenty of historical record to prioritize extra measures to assist schools on state.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that has not spoken on item number 3 on our agenda that would like to do so? State your name again for the record. I'll give you 3 minutes. Good.
Marilyn Garrett, retired school teacher. I taught for 30 years. I feel like I'm continuing my educational and health advocacy work as I did when I was teaching and when I was a young mother. I was part of the lawsuit to ban DDT, a carcinogenic pesticide that was found in all our mother's milk in 1969. My daughter's now 50. And when I was teaching in impoverished schools next to fields of pesticides, more exposure, I had to take the children into the classroom coughing. Similar to pesticides, we have radiation harm, which has similar neurological effects, including, I believe, the tremors that I have, according to my healthcare provider. She thinks it's very much related to pesticide exposure and the wireless microwave radiation exposure. So here, and you've probably seen you approve maybe a couple of hundred sites over the years. You know, I always felt as a teacher, I was looking out for the well-being of children. I remember once when a groundskeeper was outside my classroom door ready to spray the grass, you know, this is over 20 years ago. I went out and I said, you know, wait a minute, stop, you know, there are children here. And anyway, we need to stop this. This is no harm to children. We know children are more vulnerable. So it's like for the industry profits, and I think this is the bottom line problem here, is we live in a capitalist system where profits are prioritized over public and public health, environmental well-being. Just a profit for corporations. To hell with anything else. They don't give a damn. I mean, it's true. All, you know, Monsanto, fracking, Verizon, it's their profits. And this is backwards. And I'm going to submit here a letter that was by former superintendent of schools in Santa Cruz objecting to a cell tower near the school because of the priority of the well-being of children. And his last sentence says, as a result, we are asking that prudent caution be exercised, and we put on hold all plans for a cell tower until they're conclusively proven to be safe. They have to be conclusively proven to be safe. We do not put our children in harm's way deliberately, and your approval will be increasing that harm, Zoning Administrator Wanda Williams, and you are well aware of that.
And Marilyn, I'm sorry, that letter was from the current
No,
school
but it's the same idea. I'm going to give it to you right
Okay.
here.
Okay.
But this is what all superintendents and teachers should be advocating at here.
Okay, thank you. Say your name again for the record, and we'll give you 3 minutes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity again for speaking on this. I'd first like to, for the site, I forgot to submit the copies of the petitions that I referenced earlier. I'd like all the comments I made for the other two to apply to this one and vice versa. Now, I request that you ask Verizon, and not Verizon's representative, because they've said that they don't know, but of course, how could they know all the plans of Verizon since they don't work for Verizon? So please ask Verizon what their plans are for this community in the next several years to put in additional sites. And as I stated before, it's not just the visual and aesthetics that I would call the visual impacts, but it's also the trees that are going to be impacted by this. And I've just again referenced the reports I referenced earlier. Now, to that point, Verizon's own application that was heard December 7th had this map here. And this was the zone of influence of that antenna. And I calculated it to be just over a mile, 5,394 feet. That's the diameter. And then I looked at the other antennas that are around there that's in the application, and there's obvious overlap. So there's going to be obvious overlap where these cumulative effects are going to be affecting the trees, causing a devastating visual impact to our communities.
Were the surrounding facilities Verizon?
Yes.
Okay.
Any further questions on that?
No.
Okay. Then I looked at, and this is available also in the documentation I provided for the staff report and to you, there's antenna search. It's a widely available platform to figure out where the antennas are, and there's 338 in this area. And then I also calculated there's going to be, in the next few years, up to 1,600 more. Now,
I'm sorry, 1,600 more facilities?
yes, based on the comments that we've had from Verizon and AT&T at the meetings that we've attended for these types of industry and things of that nature and conferences, they want...
So a Verizon representative indicated to you that they are going to install during the next couple of years 1,600 additional facilities
What
in the
they've
county.
said is
Santa Cruz.
the next year, hundreds.
Next year. Okay.
And then-
100 and 1,600, that's a big variation.
Right. And then Verizon also commented that they wanted to do 400 to 500 feet.
They
And we've
want to do 400 to 500 feet.
Yes. And so I just said, taking the different
And once
notes.
again, what they want to do and what they intend to do, that's a big variation also. The Verizon representative here, the representative indicated, he does not have additional applications in with the county. I guess I can turn to staff and ask, do we have additional Verizon applications in Live Oak that we are processing?
Of this type, I don't know for sure.
You don't.
I don't have any other applications that I'm processing.
Okay. So once again, what Verizon representative told you 100 in 2019?
Do we have that available, Bruce? Do we know that offhand, or is it in the video that we presented?
No, we don't have that. We don't know what's going on in the city of Santa Cruz.
Okay, so I'm going to indicate this is the county of Santa Cruz, not the city of Santa Cruz. Even though there's some overlap that we should be aware of, we'll speak with the city of Santa Cruz, but I'm not aware of any effort by Verizon, AT&T, or others to install up to 100 new facilities in the county of Santa Cruz in 2019.
Okay.
And I guess I could go by looking at the previous record for 2018 or 2017 and the number of facilities that we approved. And I don't recall that we approved in any of those years 100 facilities by Verizon or others. Probably perhaps combined during a good year, maybe we approved, I don't know, maybe 40, 50, if we included Verizon, AT&T, what was another one? T-Mobile, and I think there was one more. But, so, unless you have some written documentation to submit at this time to show that there will be another 100 in 2019, I have nothing to go on.
Okay. And the proximity from Seabright to Live Oak, Seabright being city, Live Oak being county, you believe that that's not the same location? Because City of Santa Cruz, we have the documentation showing that they want to put hundreds in the City of Santa Cruz. Some of that Seabright is right there. It's very close to these sites, within a mile. I mean, I've shown that the cumulative effects will be a distance of a mile by Verizon's own documentation in the December 7th hearing.
So I guess my response to that also would be, I don't know what the range of each of those facilities is, how far, if the range extends out 200 feet, if it extends out 400 feet, 300 feet. So I think we'd have to look at all of that as well. So without all that information before us, I'm not sure that we can say that it would have an impact on this one isolated location.
Okay.
But if you want to continue.
Okay. Then I also note that with respect to the trees, the requirements for the applications require that, I don't have my note here, but in the code, it says that the adjacent trees and their relative heights to the site and the facility need to be put in the application. And I failed to see any of those noted in any of the three applications. And so of particular interest to me is the damage to the trees. How can we affect or assess that without that information that was required as part of the permit requirements? And the last thing I'd like to bring up today, unless you have comments on that.
So I don't recall that this particular one was right next to a tree. I don't recall that this was right next
So it doesn't have to be right next to, but it means that the nearby trees. Do you want me to go get the code? Okay. I do have the two more items. So you mentioned that the changes to the FCC regulations regarding the significant modification to a structure has changed from the 10 feet. Was that something that's happened since June 2017? Because I have that code in front of me.
It's 20 feet. I think it's 20 feet, that you can go up 20 feet for a co-location.
Okay.
And I think you can go out, I don't know if you can go out 10 or 20. I think it's 20 in each direction also, and then you can go up 20. Or you can go up the amount that's necessary, that's based upon your specific requirements. I think that's what the FCC regs say.
Okay. So that's the new regs? Because the ones I have
We can get you a copy of it.
Okay, I appreciate that, because the ones I have from June 2017. And the last thing is our group, EMF Aware Santa Cruz, we took the information that was in the applicant's application, and Satya has left, but she's the one that did the calculations for us, and went to the actual provider of the antennas, got the specs from the provider and from the application. And there's a zone that's of non-compliance for the uncontrolled populace, 20 feet. So from that extends outside of the right of way. So 20 feet, all these property owners will not be able to access that portion of the property anymore without going with the SCC regs, that compliance wattage or radiation energy extends 20 feet from the antenna. So if, for instance, my pole is here and my property is here, 6 feet away, I can't access that 20-foot zone around that antenna anymore.
Wow.
And so my charge to you is that, to me, instigates a eminent domain take.
Yeah.
So unless the county goes for eminent domain takes on these, for every 20 feet outside of from the antenna, if that extends 20 feet outside of that right-of-way, you're going to be taking that property from those individuals so they can no longer access that portion of the property. And
Yeah, I'm not sure that I'm following you in terms of the taking, so.
so what I can tell you
I'm
what
not
we
an
did.
attorney, so I'm not going to try and get into a discussion of that.
Okay.
Okay.
So we can provide the calculations that we've done on our own, showing that the specs that we used are directly from the antenna provider and the applicant's documentation, stating where the FCC threshold is met and how it will be beyond the county's right of way.
Okay, thank you.
And then we have an alternative that would be considerable, or to be considered, existing technology that is readily applicable, wires.
Yes.
And we charge the county to look at implementing a system where we can prefer areas outside of prohibited zoning districts. So I think it was Marin County or Mill Valley, they just recently updated their code. So if you're looking at code updates, please look at ability to set preferential zones. So basically, preferred zone for these types of facilities would be industrial or things of that nature. Then the next one would be commercial, I'm just throwing it out there. Last preferred would be school zones or parks or and residential zones. So obviously we can't discriminate like that because we prohibit, but we can do, and what these other jurisdictions have done is said to the applicant, please show that you have tried to achieve your goals in one of these preferred zones. And if you can't, then move down to the next least preferred, et cetera, to show that they've looked at placing these in places that are more appropriate than school zones and residential zones.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So these are for the
Anyone
record.
else that is not spoken on item number 3 on our agenda that would like to do so? Please come forward. This is the time to do so. If there's anyone else. Good morning or good afternoon. Please state your name again for the record.
Who's Tanner? The question on my mind is, at what point is this county going to draw a line? There are more and more of these installations every year. The old installations are not going away. There is powerful evidence that many, many more antennas will be requested in the county jurisdiction in the very, very near future. The imperative of rolling out 5G has been unequivocally stated by Tom Wheeler in a press conference last year, in which he said, we have to do this, it's a national priority, we have to beat the Chinese, we have to make possible all of these technologies which are waiting in the wings, which we don't know about. There's a whole lot that we don't know about. I saw a document from a few years ago that showed, I believe it was from, it was from Verizon. It showed their installed antennas in a certain area, and it showed all of their anticipated antennas. It came at that time, it came to over, I think this was in early 2000s. At that time, there were around 90 in this list. Well, we don't have documents like that now. They don't want us to have documents like that. They don't want the people to know what they're planning in our benefit. Well, if they don't want us to know, could this be a good thing? These applications will keep coming. There'll be more meetings like this where the telecoms will argue that they're doing this in our benefit, and everybody who comes up to the microphone and talks about this is talking about the damage, the fears for the children, how we don't want this, how we don't consent, and yet the approvals will keep coming, and the cumulative exposure will keep growing. At what point does the county begin to actually consider the interests of the people? When does the county actually start even measuring the exposures that we're experiencing? It doesn't look like that's going on. You're not looking at what people are experiencing. You express that, oh, this just seems to be okay. You approve the permit, and so it goes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there anyone else that has not spoken on this item who would like to do so?
I want to submit something.
Yes, you can. And I'm going to correct myself regarding that 20 feet, because the code, the FCC regs do say for towers other than towers in the public rights of way.
May I say
The height
this
of
is
the
a
tower
request?
more than 10% or by the height of one additional antenna array with separation from the nearest existing antenna not to exceed 20 feet. But, and then it goes on to say, whichever is greater for other eligible support structures, it increases the height of the structure by more than 10% or more than 10 feet, whichever is greater.
Right, that's what I read too.
So it is 10 feet in the public right of way.
Right.
10 feet or 10% or more, whichever is greater.
And I've calculated those to be about 30 to 40%.
Okay. Is there anyone else that has not spoken on item number 3 that would like to do so? Now is your time to do so. Okay, seeing that there's no one else, I'm going to close the hearing from further public testimony. I'll repeat what I said for item number 2, and that applies to item number 1 as well. These are small cell facilities. According to the FCC definition of what a small cell or microcell facility is, they are extensions to utility poles, and therefore do not significantly change based upon information submitted by the applicant, will not significantly change the appearance of the existing or replacement utility poles. The overall height that they're going up is not significant, and a variance is not required for this particular one because it complies with the C2 or stays below the maximum C2 height limit. I don't have any information that was presented as part of this hearing that indicates that this applicant is proposing to install hundreds of facilities throughout the county or in close proximity to other facilities in the county, in the city or other jurisdictions. And once again, as indicated, if that were to occur, these are all still being installed on existing utility poles and therefore will not substantially change the appearance of the existing utility poles. The height, as indicated, is not significant that they are going up. They mitigate, the applicant is mitigated, or, it's possible to mitigate before or at the time of submitting the applications by enclosing, I believe, 2 of them at as Cantana's. The other one, they chose to modify, make it a side-mounted facility to avoid requiring a variance or exceeding the height allowed for that zone. So I don't think that what is proposed or what is requested is exorbitant. I don't think it is going to significantly alter the appearance in the right-of-way. I'm going to therefore determine that this project is exempt from further environmental review under the California Environmental Quality Act and approve application 181103 based upon the findings and conditions incorporated in the staff report. I am going to require that the applicant on this one also, as we did on the others, that they do the annual inspection, and if it's necessary to replace any equipment or materials or refresh the color of the antennas or equipment, that they do so at that time and submit a letter or statement to the county annually to indicate that that has occurred. I'm going to also require that the applicant on this one as well submit the agreed to extend the shot clock further if an appeal is filed. And I think that was all that I added for the second one.
Public health and commerce.
And I'm going to add, and this was not 5G. I think the applicant noted that as well. So 5G is not an issue on this one at this time. And we will look into, we have attempted to find out when 5G is coming into the county previously. We've got no responses to when that's going to occur. We'll continue to try and look into that. I'm just going to add, for the record, regarding all three of these, that the applicant did submit reports to show that the RF levels will comply with FCC standards. FCC establishes what that standard is. Whether we like it or not, FCC is the agency that is responsible for establishing what that maximum standard may be. These are all well below that FCC standard. As I've said in the past, I do agree that when RF levels are excessive and exceed that standard, or are approaching the top of that standard, that they perhaps likely would have some type of health effect on residents, and that's been shown. But as indicated, these are well below that level. So I'm just adding that, and that was verified, as I said, by reports completed and submitted as part of the applications. So that concludes this matter as well. And I thank you all for staying through this. It's been a long morning. Thank you.
Can I make one positive comment on item 4?
The hearing's over.
Okay.
If you want to submit something in writing or speak to staff afterwards, you can do so.
This is U.S. Code.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. As I said, I corrected myself.
Okay.
With the public record.
So, and just to clarify, am I reading it correct that if the height is changed by more than 10 feet or 10%, that there would be a significant modification? That's what I've read.
Well, if it is less, okay, so it is an eligible facility under the Spectrum Act if it does not exceed 10 feet or that 10% in the public right of way. And what that means is we have a requirement to process an application in 60 days. That's what that's indicating, that how we deal with the location and manner to process those applications must be very quickly, 60 days. And actually, I believe on January 1st,
14.
is it January 14th? But that changes.
Yeah.
I think it changes to 30 days.
It's something significant about it.
Something really crazy.
Yeah.
But currently, if it exceeds that height limit in the right-of-way, it's outside of the right-of-way, it's 20 feet.
Right.
And So if it exceeds that, then it's considered a substantial change or substantial modification.
Right.
And we have either 90 days or 150 days.
Oh, okay.
That's changing as well.
Yes.
In January. And that's going, in the public right of way, I believe that goes to 30 days. Maybe it's 60 days in the public right of way. And I think maybe it comes back to 90 days for everything else. That's
So the Spectrum Act
That's
then-
coming from the federal government, so we're
Yeah,
not.
exactly.
We're not controlling that.
Yeah, so that 10 feet or 10% applies only to how you process the application, not on
Yes.
whether it's a small site.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Management and processing.
Gotcha.
In the shop one.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that
Okay.
clarification. That helps a lot.